Welcome back. You're watching Inside Politics. Thank you for staying with us. We've taken the fast break now to shift focus to a second talking area, all to do with Martyr's Party elections, the grassroots elections that have been held, staggered, mind you, by the UDA party. The ODM party postponed its party elections due to the current floods that are devastating the country in various areas. But allow us to hear from Kenyans in terms of some of their reservations when it comes to the ongoing UDA party primaries, which, mind you, are electronically done this time around. Listen in.
Ndio nataka kujua kuliendaje juu mimi nilijaribu kupiga kura yangu ikakataa na sionekani kwa system na nilikuwa nimesimama kwa kiti ya professional. Lakini kwenda kuangalia si kupiga kura juu ID yangu haikuwa inaonekana mahali pale, mashine hasikuwa zinafanya. Lakini jioni napigiwa simu na abua nimewin. Niliwin aje?
Kulikuwa na rafiki yetu alikufa 2022. Huyo rafiki yetu amevotiwa. Hata bibi yake akisikia hivyo atastaki chama. Juu bwana yake alikufa, lakini ako kwa nini? Ako under constant. Utakuwa aje kwa marumbano na wewe uko kwa kaburi mwaka mzima. Na amewin.
We want the polling, the elections to be done in a polling station, not in somebody's house or somebody's office. We are killing this party. We have invested a lot in this party.
And we are calling upon, we want to give them an ultimatum of 7 days to prepare for another election. Because all the candidates submitted their names at the party headquarters and all the details were submitted. We want election repeat, and we want every aspirant to go and reconfirm their details at the party headquarters. Then you can have an election.
Well, these are party members, some of them saying repeat the election. We want every party member to go confirm their details. And we have the head of elections here. So who better than to respond to some of these queries that have been raised? Brian, a lot has been said about the party elections. It's do or die. We know that, especially within political parties in the country. But when you have, number one, someone who was deceased emerging victorious in party elections, isn't this a big issue? Number two, we heard of Sakaja, who's a party member, voted through the party, not being able to vote initially due to a couple of issues. I hear his ID was not reflecting and whatnot. Talk to us about some of these challenges and how you've gone through.
Thank you very much. It's very funny. You know, our primary ID in our system is the ID number.
Not the passport.
No.
Okay.
I'm saying, I'm responding to the issue of a dead.
Okay. ID number, yes.
There are so many John Kamaus, so many Tom Omondi, so many blah, blah, blah. So there's no way we have displaced an ID number for you to say this is a deceased person just because of a name. And you know, for the first time, we are dealing with our grassroots election from the polling center level. So we are doing election in 27,000 polling centers across the country. The first phase of election in the 5 counties that we did, that is Nairobi, West Pokot, Narok, Homa Bay, and Busia, there were 3,760 polling centers that we conducted elections. Out of that, 3,200 polling centers went on without any hitch. The next 500 polling centers, we did a repeat yesterday. There were several issues. Issue number one was weather. Especially in Nairobi, we just repeated 50 out of 378 polling centers. We repeated 50 for Nairobi. So the biggest chunk of repeats were in West Pokot and Narok, and mainly was because of weather. On the issue of Governor Sakaja, a name not being found, Governor Sakaja went to the polling center using his ID card. Yet he is a registered voter and a registered aspirant using his passport. So he was advised to go get his passport, and when he came back, he was allowed to vote. Most people were missing in the voters' roll. It's a party primary. It's a party grassroots election. So you have first to enroll as a party member. So the register is of UDA party member. So most people assume, most supporters assume they're UDA members, yet they did not officially register as UDA member. That has been our biggest challenge. And we gave them opportunity to validate. And if you see our posters, most of our posters tell them to go to *509#, the office of the registrar, to check if you are a member of the party.
All right.
Because you have to be a member of the party to participate in this grassroots election.
Then tell me this, those who are criticizing the party polls, especially in UDA, saying they're sham and whatnot, you did this process electronically. Does this secure the vote? What do you respond to such accusations? And equally, as you respond, talk to us about those who have an issue, a complaint arising from the party polls. What's the next course of action? Is there a time frame as well, briefly?
Thank you very much. You know, each process has its own organ. The National Election Board conducts the election. Any dispute arising from the election is taken to Electoral Dispute Committee, which is sitting. It gave us a notice when they will start hearing those cases.
Okay.
So in terms of electronic voting, 95% of people are happy. Because immediately you finish voting, you don't wait for a minute. The results are there. Once the polling station is closed, from the tablet you can see the results, and at the public portal you can see the results real time.
As well.
So there's no room for manipulation, and it's faster, it's quicker, and it's cheaper. You know, printing ballot papers, transporting ballot boxes, it's very expensive for a small party that is just 2 years old.
Interesting, the ruling party. Anyway, let's talk about the other parties as well, because the Orange Democratic Movement Party, through the leadership, mentioned that the staggered elections have been postponed indefinitely. They mentioned the current flood situation in the country as a major contributing factor. But many might argue that you know, they know that party elections are make or break in Kenya, especially amongst these large political parties. What say you in the manner in which UDA has conducted itself, in the manner in which ODM is yet to conduct itself?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, and I think I actually tell people that Jesus is always my inspiration. Actually, as a strategist, I actually say Jesus is the ultimate strategist because he has answer to everything. If you go to Matthew 5:18, Jesus says, before you go to war, you have to know whether you have enough soldiers vis-a-vis the soldiers of your opponent. Now look, we held election in 2022 with a budget of 66 billion shillings or more. And they were still shambolic, according to ODM. Now, I was asking Brian, how much was UDA spending on the election? And he said 300 million. So, elections being held in 27,000 polling stations using a party, it is 300 million. When it is being done by IBC, it is 66 billion shillings. So the question is IBC stealing money from us?
They say it's all to do with the security features and whatnot.
No, if UDA, the head of UDA, being the president, knows you can conduct an election with 300 million shillings, why does he sign a check for election to be held by IBC for 66 billion shillings? Kenyans need to ask, Kenya need to ask this question because he was the deputy president. This thing, he was controlling parliament because Justin Muturi, with his friend, was the head of parliament, isn't it? Treasury, Rotich was a friend, was head of treasury, isn't it?
But one's a party, one's national
What I'm trying to say is that the Kenyans should ask themselves this question.
Okay.
How can a party successfully believe they can hold election of 300 million shillings? You know, I'm not talking about, look at the gap between, if you divide that figure, how many times does 300 million enter 66 billion? The question is, maybe it should now be 12 billion, not this. And I gave numbers. In the US, one vote should cost you $1.2, isn't it? In Kenya, per vote is around $12 per vote, isn't it? Tanzania is $7 per vote. Uganda, it was $3 per vote. Why is Kenya doing this much?
You know why they say lack of trust?
No, those are excuses, my brother. What I'm trying to say here is, in simple, ODM must have looked at this and said, excuse me, we only have maybe 200 million, because actually UDA should have more money. They're receiving more money for political parties fund, and Raila Odinga in his own wisdom says, excuse me, we have floods going on. My people are suffering. I'm trying to go to AU. And we cannot even hold credible grassroots election, postpone it. Remember, they have not done this election like forever. So I can tell you, make party primaries is make or break decision for any political leader.
Okay.
And I'm sure Raila has not passed that test. So let me take this chance just to applaud Brian for even making the effort, because it's not easy. The only thing is that at the same time, they have done it at a time when Kenyans cared more about rice, beans, sugar, and other things than the election. Maybe it could be time to secure Kenyans' flood. Maybe that's where ODM scores. So ODM scores 1, they also score 1, because ODM scores 1 for actually giving food, not ballot papers. For them, they score 1 for at least holding an election. But the most important thing is we should encourage the fact that there is no political party in Kenya. Let me tell you, this is what's important.
As we finalize it.
A political party should be about the socio-political interests of the wananchi, not about individual interest. And the structure of political parties we have in Kenya do not qualify to political parties. We call them fraternities or sororities. Who owns UDA? William Ruto, to the last man, isn't it? That is the fact. Do Kenyans who went to vote during flood own UDA? Do they receive a check from UDA? The same thing, ODM. Who owns ODM? ODM is owned by an individual, isn't it? In South Africa, ANC is owned by the people.
Okay.
And that's true. CCM is owned by the people. So before a party is owned by the people, it is not a political or social economic benefit to people to be forced to election. This election will benefit who? One person who owns the party. But if you go when CCM is doing election, the party primaries benefit the people. So this primaries was not people-centered. So whether you spend 300 million shillings or you didn't do election at all, me, I don't care. So whether ODM did theirs or didn't do theirs does not matter. The question is, what after this election? Will we see better governance in UDA? Okay. Will we improve the ease of life, like agriculture being sorted, education being sorted, healthcare being sorted? If this cannot give benefits to people, then it is just a fraternity of people who benefit from it, but no socio-economic benefit to Kenyans who, that woman who says somebody has died, whether a dead person votes or a live person votes, but you cannot put bread on the table, is useless.
Waringa, as we cross over to you, because Prof has raised an issue of political parties in Kenya being handled as special purpose vehicles, bound to the whims of the party leader, the man in charge. His word is law. What do you think of that particular conversation? Because there are those who argue, and I'm sure Brian will say this, that there are party structures in place, that the leader is not the final say. There are structures and they all have their roles aligned. So what say you?
Yes, there are structures, but I tell you, the structures sing the song of the leader most of the time. Yeah, so number one, allow me to comment on the just concluded party elections. And what we've heard is that after spending 300 million, I repeat, high possibility. How did Wanjiku, or how is Wanjiku getting the value for the taxpayer? Allow me to replace Wanjiku, the taxpayer. How is Wanjiku getting the value for the 300 million that has been spent? And now Kenyans are already crying for a repeat. The same Wanjiku is crying for a repeat. Number two, accountability. He has just given a very good, that I don't want to repeat, on how, like, per voter in Kenya, we're spending $12. How is that accounted for? And how did we get there? And that's why we say that Kenya, whether political party elections, whether country elections, we go through one of the most expensive elections in the region, or maybe even around the world. You know why that happens? Because of greed. This country, whatever we do, and I think he will also salute that whatever we do, whether it's party elections, whether country elections, whether it is service to the people, greed is the anchor upon which all these interventions revolved, which is very, very unfortunate. And that's why the US would be $1 per voter and Kenya is 12, because everybody will be like, now we have UDA elections. How much money am I getting out of UDA elections? Now we have France fund. How much am I getting out of the France fund? We had COVID, the COVID billionaires. How much money am I getting out of? Kenya, this must come to an end. And we must now start a journey of embracing moral standing in government. We must start a journey of integrity in government. We must start a journey of embracing Chapter 6. But Kenya, from party elections to whatever we do, Chapter 6 is always aside. And if our investigators are able to go down deep into how the 300 million shillings was used to do UDA elections, you realize they did not need to spend 300, maybe they needed to spend only 100 million. That's very true. And again, I was questioning. Thank you to UDA for doing your elections, but did you sit down and prioritize? Did we need to do elections at this point in time? 300 million. How much would that have had positive impact to the people who are suffering because of France? We saw this region here in Embakasi where where our people lost their livelihood. They were thrown out by this. I would say. Sorry, I'm trying to get the right word for this. These crushers that were bringing their structures down and whatever else it is. And they were left homeless. Yeah. Thank you, very good. The demolition that was going on. How the 300 million, it would have helped these people, relocate them before bringing down their structure. First of all, relocate them to a school, to institutions, or maybe erect tents, and then give them food, give them shelter, and for maybe a week or two, and the 300 million could have done that away from doing party elections at this point in time. So I call upon the government also to prioritize their interventions and read the seasons. Is this the season for doing party elections? No. This is a time for reaching out to your brother, to your sister, who is sleeping hungry, who doesn't have shelter at this point in time. So prioritization lacked. Number 2, accountability lacked. Number 3, we must also ensure that our processes of maybe like our process of elections are not taking so much money if you are not going to do without elections very soon.
Okay, so prioritization, accountability, and I'm sure you're itching to reply. Yes. But as you come through, I just want to display a certain communique from the UDA party, all to do with the couple of changes that were made through the National Executive Committee, where they approved an amendment to the party constitution, creating one office of the deputy party leader and 2 offices of that's the Assistant Deputy Party Leader, Secretary General Cleophas Malala said, and this sort of has been translated as ending the war and concerns by Mount Kenya region of being shortchanged in the party. I'd like you, Brian, to equally speak on this, because previously there was a party leader and 3 deputy party leaders, one in charge of policy and strategy, one in charge of operations, and the other in charge of programs. What necessitated this change?
Thank you very much. First, I'll want to comment on the use of the 300 million.
And whether it was a priority.
Yeah, as you're aware, we had planned this election last year.
True.
And we postponed it. We were supposed to do it in December last year.
Yes.
And we postponed it to April this year. Number 1, it's a legal requirement for us to conduct grassroots elections because the term of office of interim officials has a threshold that must be met. For us even to qualify to get the political parties' funds, these are some of the conditions that we must fulfill. And the 300 million from the political parties' fund is governed by law. It cannot be used to help the floods victim, for example. It has specific role. And by the time we were giving out these dates, things like emergencies, the reason they are called emergencies and disaster, you cannot plan for, you don't know when they will strike. So we didn't know there will be flooding at this juncture. And it is members themselves who insisted that election should not be postponed. We've been doing aspirants forum before, and they told us that whatever the case, do not postpone these elections. So it is their say that we are following as a party. And we should also learn this thing should not be binary, on and off, yes or no, that this one, you should do this instead of this. Even my good friend is like mentioning Jesus Christ. And those people, when Jesus was being crucified, they were given an option. Do you want Jesus or do you want Barabbas? They chose Barabbas. So the people wish is supreme.
Okay.
I'm not a better person than the next person. So I cannot claim to be a better person than the next person. We give people what they want as a party.
So was it the people's choice to have one deputy party leader? Or was this simply taking care of one person's concerns?
No. We were streamlining our constitution. We've done a raft of amendments, including at our previous NGC. You know, before the last election, there were serious amendments in Political Parties Act, IEBC Act, Election Offences Act. So we wanted to align our constitution with most of those acts. And after election, we won the government. So we have one president, we have one deputy president. So we would like to align our constitution also to match the same.
Okay, interesting, because ODM have survived with 2 deputy party leaders.
Four.
So
Their position is 4, but they have 2.
okay.
Their
Okay.
constitution.
Oh, they have 4.
They are in their constitution.
Okay.
So, thank you very much.
In 30 seconds, as we take a break. Yeah.
You know, if you want to know where our problems begins, our problems begin at the family, the household unit, because we are looking at something very big. The problem begins from home.
All right.
If you cannot be a good husband, can you be a good leader of a clan? Can you head a political party well? And if you cannot run a political party well, can you run a country? Because they cannot even manage their political affairs, just managing a UDA political party. Then you can see the ineffectiveness, the inefficiency in government. Between all these
why
guys,
do you say they can't handle their
but they
But we
cannot.
formed the party in 1 year and we
Wanjiku-
formed the government.
Wanjiku
We
is
won
saying-
government.
And your party is back saying they've
winning
done the
government,
elections.
excuse me, in fact, I get sad by Brian. Brian, you're a young man like myself. I get sad when you think that the end goal for Kenya is winning an election.
No, for a political party.
Because I've
it is.
heard here, that does not matter. I've heard here people saying that Ruto is better than Raila because he won an election.
Okay.
That cannot be a measure, because elections we know can be stolen. Legitimacy, legal power to control can be stolen. I can also steal a certificate from a professor. These things can be stolen, but social legitimacy is to deliver to the people.
All right.
So according to me, if someone cannot even run a political party, can you trust them with affairs of the state? I will continue when we open.
Okay, let's take that short break. The bills have to be paid, and I'm pretty sure our panelists are itching for a reply. But as we come back, we'll equally shift focus to yet another matter that has played out in the course of the week. And it's all to do with what Ambassador mentioned, the government response prioritization. Human Rights Watch has called out President William Ruto and his government for the delayed response when it comes to dealing with the floods and the devastating effects it has brought onto Kenyans. So we'll take a look at this, including the political angle where ODM leader Raila Odinga actually criticized the government, and Kenya Kwanza leaders definitely did clap back. Stay with us.